Hey, my name is James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. The Renters' Rights Bill yesterday got one step closer to actually becoming law. You see, the stage that they're at, it got voted through Parliament. It was quite decisive as well. The lawmakers in favour of passing the bill were 430 and against was just 111. So pretty much unanimous there, and it shows that this bill is going to move quite quickly through Parliament as it gets more amendments, as it gets more readings. Now, this means that landlords could potentially face fines of up to £40,000. That's not great, and that has a lot of landlords worried. And in fact, landlords are pretty happy with some of the amendments to the eviction process in the bill. So I just want to do a quick recap on this, not as detailed as we did before. We did a video earlier this week, which was 35 minutes long, where we go into the details on the bill. But this is just to highlight to you that this is moving quickly. So we had a video earlier this week, which 40,000 people have watched now, which is crazy. And that video was talking about what's included in the last reading. But as I said, last night, that part and that reading passed. Everyone was happy, or 75% of the votes were happy. And that's moved through to the next stage now. And so we'll get some more amendments going forward and more clarity on some of these things. So what we have in the bill that's really probably going to sail through is the periodic tenancies. That worries landlords, and that is something that you guys commented below saying, this isn't great, I'm not interested in this part. And that's where, rather than having a 6-month AST, assured short hold tenancy, or 12 months, you're now going to have a rolling 2-month notice. Not great for a lot of people. A lot of people have indicated that that means that someone could take your property, take it for a couple of months, and instead of getting an Airbnb, have a short-term rental, give notice, and then get that property back to you, meaning you've got to relist it, more fees and stuff like that. And that is true. We've got rent controls in there. So there's going to be controls on, you can increase the rent one time per year. I don't know loads of landlords that increase multiple times in a year, but I guess some are, otherwise it wouldn't be in there. You can also go to a tribunal if you don't feel that the rent increase that you got is fair. Now, at that, they'll be able to say, let's just say you were charging £1,000 rent, and now you want to increase it to £1,200. If they feel that that's too high and actually the market rent is at £900, they can actually reduce the rent, which isn't great. Now, a lot of people in the comments said, well, you've already got that stuff. You can already go to a tribunal if you need to, but this is going to be a faster process. It's going to be more awareness of this for tenants, and I think it's going to get used quite a lot more. If you want more details on the bill, plus this summary that I made, I'll link below. About 500 of you took that. I know that's useful to have it all sorted in one place. So this is the bit that I think you should really listen to, because this is the stuff that is going to make a big difference. So I said this would happen. The government want to get rid of something called Section 21, which is called a no-fault eviction. It really isn't great publicity for landlords, where they just get rid of people for no reason, then bring someone else in at a higher rent. Now, this gets Labour the headline that we got rid of no-fault evictions, but they're going to add, the other way you get rid of somebody is on a Section 8, and they're going to make it a lot more easier to get rid of somebody. And so these are the key grounds for possession that they're going to include in that. The landlord or their family needs to live in the property. I want to go into that in a second. That one's important. The landlord intends to sell the property. Some of you said, what if I want to sell my property? So if you want to do that, you can give 2 months notice. Redevelopment or major works requiring, can't even spit it out, vacant possession. That one's interesting because we've got the EPC stuff coming up. And some people said, well, if I need to get my property from a D to a C, it needs some major works. So what happens then? Do I need to rehouse that person, or do I need to put them in a hotel? No, you don't. You can evict them and get the property back. The tenant has passed away and there's no successor that has a legal claim to the tenancy. And that one, people talked about in the comments on the last video where they said that can be a disaster for people. Let's just say you're a family and somebody in your household passes away and they were on the tenancy. You now are able to get evicted and go to the back of the queue, and you're going to struggle to get a property with the council at that stage, and that could be big problems for a lot of people. If you're in rent arrears, you can give notice, you can get possession and antisocial behaviour. So that's good. That stuff makes landlords more comfortable. Now, if you get possession of the property and it's deemed unlawful or unfair, let's just say you say you're going to sell it and then it doesn't go up for sale, the tenant can get compensation. That worries people. Antisocial behaviour, you can get rid of them for that. If you're going to need to do that, you're going to need to get witnesses from local residents and stuff like that. So that stuff. Now, the one point I wanted to cover here, and this isn't good for homelessness. So if you Google the number one reason for homelessness in the UK, most common result is that the landlord needed to live back in their property or sell their property. And it's normally that they're looking to sell the property, or at least they say that they do. That's how they get possession of the property back. Now, that is the number one reason that we've got an increase in homelessness in the UK. It's up 26% in the last 5 years, which is insane. And that is because landlords are selling. This whole bill is going to mean more landlords sell. If you go to the Renters' Rights Bill video I did earlier this week with 40,000 views, look at the comments. There's thousands of them, actually thousands of them. And if you look at, there's more than a quarter of those are landlords just saying, yeah, I'm out. So this is going to mean more landlords will legally be able to say, yes, I want my property back to sell it. And I believe that it's going to make more homelessness. So if you're a tenant and you're cheering this, saying, great, landlords are getting an absolute kicking in this, that's what we want, it's not really what you want, because you're going to get less properties to rent. That's going to increase prices. I went to one of my flats yesterday. The rent on that's 1,100. I just had a glance on Rightmove what a 2-bedroom flat in Dorking is in the market rate at the moment. It's 1,500 quid. Like 1,500 quid. So that as the market shrinks, you're going to see a lot of problems. Next is pet ownership. So the right to have pets. Landlords have to consider pets. Tenants have to put it in writing to the landlord. The landlord can't unreasonably refuse pets. But if they've got a lease, if they live in a flat, for example, and it says no pets, that can be a reason to not have a pet. If they do allow pets, the landlord is within their rights to ask the tenant and make the tenant prove that they've got insurance to cover for damage to the property. That's good. Landlord duties. So you've got to have all written tenancies and stuff like that. Some don't. Yeah, some people have it on a fag packet, but you should use an estate agent and that will cover you on that. Discrimination, this is a big part of it. So you can't discriminate against people that have got kids. You can't discriminate against people on benefits. People will get round that. Now, if they get 100 applications in, they will get round that. But you can't do that in the advert, for example. You can't say to the estate agent and get it logged on their system that you don't want people with benefits and stuff like that. So that's important as well. Decent home standards is important. This is a big part of this. It's a new legal requirement that you will have to get maintenance done quickly. They can complain to the council if you don't, particularly things like mould. The local authorities will be able to determine and give you penalties if you're not looking after the property. That's important. Local housing associations and authorities, they can turn up at the property without written notice, is important as well. And if you are not looking after the property, the tenant can stop paying rent or claim rent back from you. So the tenant's rights are getting improved. That's the whole point of this. Section 21 is going. Tenancies will be now periodic, meaning tenants aren't tied to properties for a long period of time. They can challenge rent increases easier, and they'll get compensation for unlawful evictions. Rent repayment orders, if they pay you rent and you're not looking after the property, you might have to pay them that rent back. And they've got protection against discrimination. There is some good stuff in this. I think landlords should be looking after their tenants. I do with mine, but I do understand also that there is that risk for tenants that they could get a bad landlord, and this will get rid of some of them. My bad side on this, and it's interesting to see, this is going to happen. Like if you're a landlord and you're thinking, well, the EPC stuff, that will never happen. You might be right on that. That's been delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. This is racing through Parliament at the moment. They're desperate to get something out to the news and the press to say, we have improved tenants' rights. We have got rid of no-fault evictions. This is headlines that Labour are looking for at the moment. You can see with the voting, there's not much resistance to this. 400 votes to 100 votes saying no. This is going to breeze through Parliament, guys. And it is ultimately, in my belief, going to push more landlords out of the market, rightly or wrongly. That's what's going to happen. And I think those landlords are going to take possession on the grounds that the fact that they can take possession of their property by saying they want to sell it, they'll sell. That will shrink the market more. And I ultimately think this bill is going to increase homelessness. And I think that's not a great situation to be in. I think this bill should happen. It should have some good stuff in there to protect the tenants. But I also think there should be more focus on building social housing and the right types of property. So when people do get pushed out their properties, they've got somewhere to go. And that isn't covered or addressed in this bill or anything really that's happening. It's all words and rubbish. I don't think this is great for tenants or landlords. Let me know your thoughts, questions, opinions below. Do smash like, do subscribe, and check out all the other content, including the Renters' Rights Guide. You can grab the full bill plus my breakdown of it that took me half a day to do. And I'll put that in the description below. Do check out all the other content, including this video right here.